Hi folks, welcome back to your fifth PHP video. In this video I'm going to be covering comments, and what comments do is it really gives you a chance to leave other developers notes of how you did things, and also they can be used for debugging. So in this instance I'm going to use the code that we had from the last tutorial and just build upon this. And up here I'm going to do a single line comment, and the way that we do that is we put 2 forward slashes, and you'll see the color change in my editor here, and now everything I add onto this line will become PHP won't process it. So we'll say setup variables, and down here I will do another one, call this one output default amount. And then down here I'm going to put in another one, and I'm going to put out output amount rounded to thousandth. Oh, I just closed it by accident. So now I have comments here, but they won't actually be visible to anybody who doesn't have access to this PHP script. So if I save this, go back out to my browser, I won't see anything there, and even if I look at my code, I don't see anything in my code that's really showing any indication that there was any comments there. So if you have notes for other developers that you don't want anybody else to see, you can definitely put them there. And that's probably a best practice. Now, let's say you have an issue. Let's say you forget something. Let's say you forget a semicolon. I just took the semicolon out of this echo statement here. If I go back to my browser and refresh, we're going to get a syntax error. And it says on line 13, which PHP is usually tries to be pretty good about telling you where the error is, but as you can see, the error doesn't actually exist on line 13. It exists on line 11, but it goes to where it thinks the issue is. Now, in this example, you could be spending a couple of hours trying to figure out where your issue is if you have a huge amount of code. One way around this is to use commenting to help you debug. So now what I usually do is I will comment out as much as possible and try and work my way down into something that is still runnable and try and figure out where the issue is through that. In that instance, I will use a block comment. And in order to do that, you do a / followed by an asterisk. And now you see all the code that existed behind or after this comment line is now commented out. It's all yellow. So that won't be processed by PHP. So if I were to save this and run it back out to the screen, we don't get anything, but there's no error, so we know that that was processed correctly. Now, if I were to take this line out and move it down to my next statement, we should see that our output is processed correctly and there's no issues. Now, if we were to take this out and just add it on to the last statement, we should get an error here, and we know that's where our issue exists. And the reason why we're not doing we're not getting the issue is because PHP is pretty lenient in the way that it processes things. PHP will see that this is the last statement on the page, so it really doesn't care if there's a terminator. If we were to uncomment this, we now know that PHP knows that this next line needs to be processed. And if we go back to our code, refresh, now we get the error. So that kind of helps out with our processing. So I'll put in that semicolon, and now our error should be gone. So that's a good way of using comments to really help you debug where your issues are and kind of find out where your problem areas may be. So definitely take use of that. I do it all the time. There are some comments or some people think that a block quote or a block comment may be a better approach versus the individual lines, and others feel the other way, but whatever you feel most comfortable with.